Okay, sit yourself onto your lift and come to a good cross-leg position. Just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you feel evenly placed at the seat bones. Hold onto your knees and lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area upwards and draw your shoulders down. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Keeping your eyes still in the sockets. Just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste. Press your palms firmly together, lengthen your armpits into your elbows. Squeeze your elbows into the heels of the hands up into the fingertips. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations in through the nose, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And exhale from the top of the lungs to the bottom. Just paying attention to the expansion of the chest as you inhale. The relaxation of the chest as you exhale. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Index finger and thumb in contact, stretching the other fingers away from the palms. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just keep looking directly forward. Just hold your eyes in a single position, just observing how keeping your eyes still in the sockets allows you to keep the mind relatively quiet. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, trying to maintain that stillness of the eyes in the sockets, and then turn to the right side. Of course, it will feel like your eyes move, but try and keep them still in the sockets. Just once you've turned, just choose a spot that doesn't move and keep your eyes focused on that area. Just listen to the breath. Listen to the inhalation and the exhalation. Sorry about that ping. My computer seems to have started making noises, so I'll sort that out. Come back to the centre. Just holding onto your knees, keeping your eyes still in the sockets. And then with an exhalation, turn to the left. Again, just choose a spot to settle your eyes. And then keep your eyes still in the sockets. And then come back to the centre. Just sit yourself off your lift and just sit back on your heels. Sit back on your heels, and again just let your eyes settle. So this stillness of the eyes is a really good technique for situations where if you've got something kind of nerve-wracking coming up, if you've got an audition or an interview or something where you're likely to feel nervous, before you go in, then just keep your eyes really still in the sockets. Just try not to stare at someone, that's a bit intimidating, but just stare at something that doesn't move, just keeping your eyes still. And then as you move, aim to keep your eyes still in the sockets, so come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana. Even though you're moving your head, aim for minimal eye movement. Just long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalation and exhalation. Because you can tell when someone is nervous by looking at their eyes. And often it's because their eyes flit about, looking upwards, everywhere other than forwards. And so that means that there is a lot of external, or internal rather, activity going on in the brain. And that in itself is anxiety inducing. So that all that activity in the brain gives you that sensation of anxiety. So learning to still the eyes is one way of quietening that anxiety, those nerves that you feel when you've got something big coming up. So breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. Keep your eyes still in the sockets, even though you're looking down at the floor. Can you keep your eyes still in the sockets? If you soften your jaw and soften your tongue, you soften the muscles around the eyes. Up onto your knees, turn your toes under and come up into dog down. Or if you're doing dandasana or supta baddha konasana, then just come into one of those poses. But again, aim to just keep your eyes still. So in dog down, just choose a spot, give your eyes a rest. Observe when the brain becomes quieter, then we can observe the inner actions of the pose with more clarity. Aim for evenness of action of the legs. Evenness of action between the legs and the arms and the chest and the legs. Keeping the eyes still in the sockets, the jaw and the tongue soft, so that the muscles around the forehead and around the eyes are soft. Let the facial muscles just yield to gravity. And then step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then have some blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. Bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. Lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area upwards, draw your shoulders upwards, lift the arms towards the ceiling, keeping the shoulders down away from your ears. Hinge at the hips, come forwards, keeping the arms lifted, the chest lifted. When you're halfway, then bring your arms down, hands down onto the blocks beyond fingertips. Again, just stilling the action of the eyes. So you know what I would say in this pose, the actions to instigate in the pose. So activate the knees, the thighs, the seat bones, the tailbone, the projection of the chest. Look up and look forwards. So look up with the head, look forwards with the eyes. Just keeping the eyes still in the sockets. Just observing how that brings quietness to the brain. If you can go down a little lower, then do. But then you'll have to pick a new spot to look at. So there's something in the middle of your vision. At the same time as observing the middle of your vision, can you take in the upper eye vision and the lower eye vision and the outer eye vision? Keeping the legs activating, keeping the chin and the chest driving forwards. If you go down all the way to the floor, all the way, bringing your body in towards the space between your legs, just still keep your eyes still in the sockets. And then bring your hands into your hips. Bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into standing position. come up into Tadasana. To be in Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Again, just looking forwards with the eyes. So again, if you want to look confident when you walk into a room, just pick a spot and just keep your eyes focused on it. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Because it's amazing how that external object can change the mindset internally. So if you allow your eyes to dart all around the room, upwards, anywhere other than forwards, then you'll feel anxious and nervous and unconfident. But as soon as you allow the eyes to become still and you take in the upper and the lower and the outer eye vision, then the brain quietens and confidence comes. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet nice and wide. Lift up into the chest, turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, and then come over to the right side, looking up or looking forwards or looking down, but whichever you do it with stillness in the eyes. Don't forget the activation of the legs, which leads into activation in the spine and into the arms and into the head. So working from the feet upwards. Keeping this eye still in the sockets. Come back to the centre. Swap your feet around. Turn your right toes in, your left leg and foot all the way out. Again, just stilling your eyes as you come down over to the left. Keeping your eyes still in the sockets, just looking at something that doesn't move. Activating the pose from the inside. Just observe where there is no action and instigate it. And then come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Come back into Tadasana. Just lift up into the chest. Just observing your breath, observing the stillness of your eyes. Turn the palms outwards. if you struggle with concentration and focus, this technique of stilling the eyes is a good one to help bring that internal focus. So as soon as you find yourself getting distracted, then go back to just the physical position of the eyes. Spread the toes of the left foot, bring the right foot up, keep your eyes just looking at the thing that doesn't move, bring your foot up into the thigh, lift up into the chest. So you can either stay with your arms at your sides, so Andrew, maybe you stay with your arms at your sides and lift up into the chest. If you can raise your arms over your head, then do have the arms parallel to each other. Just keeping your eyes still in the sockets, just looking at that single spot. Incorporating the upper and the lower and the outer eye vision. Activating that standing leg like it's in Tadasana. Release your arms, release your leg. Just reset the eye position. And then spread the toes deeply of the right foot. Spreading the toes, keeping that leg in Tadasana. And then just bring your arms to the sides to start off with. If you've got any reason why you shouldn't be raising your arms over your head, just stay with your arms at the sides like this, lifting up, keeping the eyes still in the sockets, and then raise your arms over your head if you can. Stilling the eyes in the sockets. And then release your arms, release your leg, and then come back into Tadasana. So if you wobbled in that pose, if you found that you lost your balance a little, how did that affect the position of the eyes? Maybe you got frustrated and you allowed your eyes to kind of move all over the place, or maybe if you felt the wavering of your balance, you just kept your eyes still, and that little waver became no less than just a little bump in the road. So it's how we deal with the unexpected. So one more time, spread the toes of the left foot, bring the right foot up, keeping your eyes really still in the sockets. Just activating that standing leg. Just keep your arms at the sides to start off with and shoot the chest up to the ceiling. Keeping your eyes really still in the sockets. And if you feel fluctuation of balance, just recognize it, observe it. Keep your eyes still, and if you lose your balance, which is always a dangerous thing for a teacher to say because that kind of instantly makes people do it, but if you lose that balance, then just keep your eyes still, don't scold yourself. Raise your arms over your head. If you feel those bumps in the road, just acknowledge that there was a bump in the road. Release your arms, bring your feet together. Spread your toes, just prepare your other side, your right leg, and then bring the left foot up into the inner thigh. Just before you raise your arms, just lift up into the chest. Just find your balance, find your drishti spot, that spot on the ahead of you that doesn't move. And then if you can raise your arms, then do. So sometimes when something is in the midst of happening, it feels like it's eternal. And then when it has stopped, it feels like it was just a bump in the road. It's like when we had our extension, felt like it was going on forever, and towards the end it got really frustrating. But as soon as it's all over, you can just suddenly relax, and you realise that actually all of that moment was just a bump in the road. So just allow the brain to observe those bumps, to acknowledge them for a bump as they occur. Keeping the eyes still, just release your arms, release your legs. And just come up into Tadasana, turning the palms outwards, spreading the palms. And then come down onto your front. Have your hands shoulder width apart, fingertips underneath your shoulders, turn your toes under, and then push yourself up. Just realign yourself if your feet are out of line with your hands. But try not to walk your hands closer to your feet or vice versa. Again, just find a spot to look at. Engaging the upper and the lower and the outer eye vision, but without moving the eyes in the sockets. So if you're in Dandasana, have the hands at the sides of the hips and lift the chest. Elevate the heart area up to the ceiling. Okay, and then just gently come down onto your knees. Sit back on your heels for a moment. Again, just keeping your eyes just looking directly forwards, looking at a spot that doesn't move. Just observe your energy. Observe the lightness of your chest, the openness of your chest. And if the chest is feeling open, then your body is good receptor to the energy within the breath. Okay, come up onto your knees, come up onto all fours. We're going to go into rajakapotasana. So just onto all fours, stretch the toes away from your knees, lift chest slightly, just look forwards. Again, just look at something that doesn't move. And then draw your right knee forwards to make contact with the right wrist, bringing that right foot out to the side so that the heel is underneath the left hip. And then stretch that left leg away. Come up onto the fingertips and then lift up into the chest, activating that back leg as though it's in Tadasana, turning the front of the thigh inwards so that the back of the thigh broadens outwards so that the hips become more level. Scoop the chest up from the hip, up into the abdomen, into the diaphragm, into the collarbones, keeping your eyes still in the sockets. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then bring the palms of the hands down. Walk that back leg in and then come into all fours. Just resettle in the middle. And this time bring the left knee forwards, bring that left knee in contact with the left wrist, bringing the left foot underneath the right thigh and hip, and then lengthen that right leg away. And keeping your eyes still in the sockets, just looking at something that doesn't move. Turning the thigh inwards, front of the thigh inwards, the back of the thigh outwards, lifting up into the chest. And bring your palms of the hands down, turn your toes under, and then step the feet in. Have the feet together, the knees apart, and then stretch your arms away. Bring your chest forwards and down, while lengthening it away from the legs. So this method of keeping the eyes still is a good way of keeping the brain quiet. There's an app, I can't remember what it's called, which isn't particularly helpful, but where, you know, when you read, your eyes are constantly on the move. But there's this app where there's just a single word on the screen and it's all in the middle of the screen, so your eyes never move, and then the word changes, and it sounds like it would be really difficult to read, but actually you can read much faster and take more of it in because your eyes are still, because you're less distracted. So the single word just moves, like kind of flashes from one to the next. Your eyes remain still and you can take in more information. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Okay, and then come back, sit back on your heels, and then come into cross legs. Let's come into cross legs. Hold on to the knees, lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area upwards. Drawing the chest to the ceiling. And then turn to the right. Drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. Back to the centre. Hold onto the knees and then turn to the left. Again, all the time, just keeping the eyes still in the sockets. And then come back to the centre. Just come down onto your back and into supta baddha konasana. Soles of the feet are together, the knees are apart. And then just rest your hands on your lower ribs. Just look up to the ceiling. Again, look at something ahead of you that doesn't move. Position is better to be lower than middle than higher than middle. Once you've found your spot, and keep your eyes just focused on it. Observe your breath. As you inhale, feel that you fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. Keeping your eyes still in the sockets, just observing the sensation of the lungs as they expand and contract. Raise your arms up to the ceiling, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, put blocks under your thighs. If there's stiffness under your hips, then put blocks on the outsides of the thighs. I think I might have said thighs when I meant arms earlier on. So if your shoulders are stiff, put blocks under a block or a folded blanket underneath your hands. I think I said thighs earlier on. Raise your arms, just swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, all without disturbing the position of your eyes. release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs. And then draw your knees towards each other. Have the knees together and the feet apart. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position, and then just get your blanket. Make sure that it's evenly folded, and then have that underneath your head, and stretch yourself out along the center of your mat. Make sure you're in a really good straight line right down the center of the mat. And then let the feet fall apart, close your eyes. Let the arms just come away from the body a little. And then just allow the body to release into the floor. Just still keeping your eyes still in the sockets, even though your eyes are closed. Just allow the body to release into the floor. Unhooking the muscles of the arms and the legs. And observing that feeling of lightness that radiates out from the bones and into the muscles. And into the organs. And into the flesh and the skin. Just using your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness down into the toes, into the fingers, into the top of the head. Just basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just Final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath, the focus of the breath down into the belly button region. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just observe the freshness of the eyes. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've really quietened your brain and really stretched yourself out and you give yourself good focus for your day. So thank you very much for joining me.